Hey everybody, thank you for watching. And guys, thank you so much for coming. If you want to, you could clap if you wanted to. Thank you. Appreciate that. We are far more than 6 feet away. I'm social distancing, so I'll remove my mask. I'm more like 12 feet away, even more than that. So I appreciate everyone else here sitting 6 feet away. We're being good. Don't get mad at us. We are being good. So I am here in Broome County. Yes, Binghamton. And for those who don't know, it's Binghamton. There's no P in that. Some of you don't know that. Some of you think it's Binghamton. It is not. It's Binghamton. There's no P in this. So say again. Yes, not the Hamptons. Yes, it is not the Hamptons. It's not. Yes. But we are here again. This is stop number 60 of the full Sharpe 62 county tour. We have 2 left. We've done 60 stops in about 5 weeks, and we're not done. Why in the world would I be so crazy to do this? Why would I cross this state again? Because it matters. I keep saying it matters. Remember something. I'm not running for anything. I'm here because I care about this state, and I want you to care too. And if you want to care about this state, you've got to vote differently. You've got to change with the same people voting again and again and again. You've got to change. You've got to vote differently to change this state. If you just keep voting for the establishment candidate, if you just keep voting for the guy or the gal they put in front of you, if you just keep doing that, you're going to continue to get the exact same outcome. And is anyone in this room now, or anyone watching, who actually thinks that things are getting better? Yeah, they're not. Is there anyone here who thinks, if I just keep voting red, if I just keep voting blue, with the guy or gal they put in front of me again, the establishment candidate, is it going to get better? No, they're part of the establishment. They're happy with the way things are. That's the problem we have. So why sit here and tell you this? Why talk about the non-establishment candidate? Why do that? Larry, they're not going to win. They might not. Some non-establishment candidates do win. We have a president who was a non-establishment candidate, right? Sometimes they win, and sometimes they lose. And some of the candidates you're going to see here, they might win and they might lose. But whether they win or whether they lose, more importantly is, are we finding enough people and showing the establishment that we matter, or are we not? Have we surrendered? Have we just gone to an at least mindset? Well, at least, we're not dying in the streets, so that's good. Well, at least I have a roof over my head, so that's good. This country wasn't founded on the at least mindset. This country was founded on the idea that I can do better, I can be better, I can achieve more, I can be the guy or gal who isn't the establishment. We left the United Kingdom because the UK was the establishment. And we walked away and said, we're going to be different. I'm not going to be like you, Dad. I don't care about the empire. I care about life and liberty, sort of happiness. And 200 some odd years later, what happened to us? We become our dad. We become the empire. Well, I don't want to be the empire. I'm going to go back to being that rebel kid. That's what I want. I don't want us voting for the establishment. I want us being better. I'm very lucky to have many candidates here today. And people always tease me. They go, oh, Larry, you're out there just talking to libertarians. That's not true. That's not true. So libertarians, Republicans, Democrats, independents, all of them. And I'm very lucky today because I have a Republican with me today who is not that establishment candidate. He's going to talk about how he wants to help out Broome County, right here, his own county. The man himself, you've seen him before, you'll see him again, Michael Vasquez.
Thank you, Larry. And I want to thank everybody who is here with us today, watching it, whether it's on social media, the news, or any other means. Now, I know a lot of people are suddenly wondering, Michael, you're a Republican. You're a Black Republican. How could you possibly be an event with libertarians? And the answer very simply is, I'm not. I'm at an event with American citizens.
Yeah.
People who are present here, people who are watching this event, very simply, you're my constituents, you are my fellow Americans, my neighbors, and you know what? Your voice is as important as any other voice that may be out there. You may vote for me, you may not. and that's okay. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to take a moment to come out whenever possible, especially in this COVID craze, to be able to speak to an audience and let them know why I'm running and why it's important that we all need to vote. Something that I was looking at, and I changed everything I was going to say today with what's happening today. Right now in our Supreme Court, we have a judge, Amy Barrett, who is being subjected to questions on a very simple question: conform. That's all she's being asked today. Conform and submit to the will of one group of people because they feel that's what they should have. We're looking at, in Lancaster, announced today, the police chief of Lancaster, PA, was just forced to resign because his wife made a post. What is this? This is conformity. This is not the American way. We all have great ideas. We have different opinions. We have different viewpoints. And working together, we make a better America that has worked for our nation for hundreds of years and will work for our nation for hundreds more. Isolating any voice does not improve our community. And I am here to improve our community. That's why I'm running for the Broome County Legislature in District 13. That's why I'm here to hear your voice, to hear your ideas, to find out how to make it better. I'm not here to ask you to conform to the Republican Party, to the Democratic Party, to any party or any ideal other than your own. But I am here to hear you. I am here to serve you. And I am here to work to make our communities better. I believe everyone in this room is here to do the same. I believe everyone who is watching this is in America to do the same. And we have to remember that's why we vote. That's why we have the right of free speech. That's why we have the right to vote. And that's why we must vote. I don't have much more to say, and I don't want to take away time from the Libertarian Party. You have some wonderful people here who are going to have some great ideas. And I do, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. But I hope everyone who watches this, when you vote, vote for someone you believe is efficient, will make it better, that will make a difference in our community. Make sure you know who you're voting for, and make sure you vote. Because conforming isn't the way to make America better. Freedom is.
Yeah. So glad we have people like Michael here. Absolutely. He's exactly right, right? If we just conform, we keep getting the same thing. I don't want to get the same thing. I want each of us to be able to find their happiness their way, the way they want to find it. But not just now, in the future. If we don't create an environment to where someone can go and find their happiness and maybe lose it and search for it again, and maybe find it and keep it, and then change what they think is important and keep moving and chasing, how in the world are we going to be successful as humans or as a nation or as a county or as a state? Michael's right. I'm glad he came. Thank you again, Michael. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. I want to bring up someone else who really made me think differently about what it means to try to find their own happiness. His name is Thomas Queter, and he's running for state senate here in New York State. And his biggest issue wasn't about, hey, you help me, or hey, you look at me. It was, hey, you, I want to find happiness, don't you? How can we work together to find it? When he first started talking, he talked about things like farming and farmers being happy and other people being happy. What moved me even more about this man, he talked about how he helped others. That was one of his number one things, and how he found joy and satisfaction with helping others. I hope you'll welcome him and give him attention. Give me a couple of seconds and I'll move stuff around. Bringing on the man himself, running for state senate, Thomas Queter.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. You know, Michael brought up a really good point. Another way to think about conformity is to think about one size fits all. Well, I'm here to prove to you that it doesn't. You know, what is the pursuit of happiness? It's not the same for everybody. It's different for me. It is from you. It's different for me. It is for someone with a different disability. It's different for a farmer. It is from a different small business person. It's different from some men to some women. It's different from any other person you can think of. So when we talk about things like legislation for health care, we talk about things that are conform, things that are cookie cutter. And I have a lot of experience with that personally because healthcare has not served me. I am not conformed. One size did not fit all for me. I had to find my own way. So in that regard, I know what it is to pull yourself up from a low place and find something that you can do to make yourself happy. And as Larry pointed out, that's usually helping someone else. When I'm given the ability to move around through my community and speak to my community and live among my community, I'm given the ability to help my community. I've always volunteered for anything I can, anything I've had access to. And I think almost anyone would. And we have this issue today where both parents are working 40, 60, 80 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And everybody likes a work ethic, and that's fine. But if we don't give each other enough time, enough money, enough resources to help your neighbor, when the neighbor falls, when the neighbor has a problem, you're not going to have as much time or money to do so. Yes. And what we find is our government claims that it can just do everything for everybody, and then it makes these cookie cutter rules. Not everybody is the same, and we all need the freedom to pursue what we need to be happy. In my case, I was a specific wheelchair that the government wouldn't allow me, but the Libertarian Party crowdfunded. Yeah. Thank you. Now, another way to look at that is farmers. We see large farms get subsidies, tax breaks, and all kinds of different help. In New York, we have an issue with dairy farms growing out of control and producing so much milk that we're dumping millions of gallons every year. Meanwhile, the small farmers are under so much pressure, so much expense, so much regulatory overreach that they can barely survive to begin with. When I talk to small farmers, they're working 1, 2, 3, even 4 jobs off the farm just to stay afloat. And they're only farming because that's what they love to do and that's what makes them happy. You can see this in almost any business, but speaking of businesses, that's where I came from. I was canvassing businesses here. And there's 2 I want to mention. Sadly, I can't remember the name of the jeweler at the strip mall, but when I walked in, his son was in the back. He was homeschooling his son while he worked, and that's because they were already homeschoolers. And he had a lot to say about how, because they were in that situation of homeschooling already, his children weren't falling behind. And that's amazing. Then I went to eat lunch with my 2 volunteers who were with me. That would be Pinky's Barbecue. And we're sitting there and we're eating a meal, which is amazing. I fully recommend going there. You get a huge pile of meat for not too much. Everybody likes that if you're a meat eater. But we're sitting there eating, and the owners are there with a consultant for social media, is teaching them how to use Instagram, Facebook, and the like to drive up their sales, drive up their visibility. And I got to walk over and I got to have the conversation and say, I'm a libertarian, I'm running for office. And libertarians, we had the first online convention of any party to be socially distanced and safe for our delegates. Yep. And on our campaigns, we're familiar with using this kind of technology, this innovation. And, I got to say, you need to listen to your consultant here because he's right. It works. And we see that all over the place. Libertarians are here to innovate, help, and make sure everyone can find their own path to happiness. Thank you.
I am very happy that we have someone like Thomas with us, because Thomas actually cares about so many other people and so many other issues. He's an example for many of us. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Thomas. You brought up a very important point. You brought up the point of small businesses, right? That really is important when it comes to the Libertarian Party and New York State in specific. If we're going to keep our state up and coming, if we're going to in some way fix this state, which everyone who's in this state knows it's in trouble, the answer is going to be supporting entrepreneurship and local business. That's going to be the answer. And the sad part is, many of us know that we have this image, right? Oh, libertarian, all you care about is big business. All you care about is big corporations. That's the image that we all have. But is that real? No. It isn't. Thank you. It's not at all. We are the only ones. Look at us as we go through our campaigns. Each and every one of us, when we go through our campaigns, where do we always find ourselves? Small business, small business, small business, small business. Where are we eating? Diners, small business, small business. We're supporting them. Tom was talking about it. He's literally giving them press. Love it. Absolutely. Literally helping him out. Show up. Yes, but
on that note, I did try to arrange a small business venue so that we could support small business, but because of the state restrictions for COVID, it was very hard for anyone to accommodate us.
Are you saying the state hurts small businesses? What? I have never heard such a thing before in my life. I am shocked. Yes, I did. You just made my day. Yes, I say that because that's all too common. Remember something. What actually happens is Democrats and Republicans go out of their way to assist with deep regulations that actually create state-sponsored monopolies. Now, in the old days, they were at least just honest. The king just went, here's your monopoly, I'm the king. And he just, your guy gave him a bunch of gold, and the king said, you have a monopoly, done deal. We don't do it so obviously anymore. Right now, we've got to pretend with regulations for safety that all of a sudden now we're going to just, help out the people. And what winds up happening? Big monopolies. You said it perfectly. They're studying for safety.
And they're sending inspectors in, they're doubling down, so they're afraid that one hair might be out of place and they're going to get a $10,000 fine.
Let me go one step further on that. Oh, you will just get me riled today. I won't, people, I'll bring it up, I promise. It's just got me riled up. So yes, this is an important piece. Now that we've shut the businesses down and that we can't collect all the taxes that we would collect from them because we shut them all down, there's been another way of taking the money. So the state has decided we'll create these rules, and if you don't follow these rules, we will fine you. So the state inspectors come down and they come up with these rules and they then fine you. And when they come down, it's a sting operation. They're not actually finding someone who's doing it wrong. The state just creates rules. They go in, break those rules, then punish you. I'm not joking. They literally go in, break the rules they said you can't break. They, as state agents, do it. Then they fine you. Liquor Authority does that too. For example, true story. Two guys and a gal walk into a bar. It's not a joke. Sadly, it's not. It's an actual story. Two guys and a gal walk into a bar. They walk into a bar and they say, we want to have beer. The bartender does what it's a woman in this case. The bartender does what she's supposed to do. She checks the ID of all three of them. Come to find out, the woman is underage. She says to her, I'm sorry, I can't give you a beer. You're underage. Does what she's supposed to do. The two men are still there and they are of age. The girl says, oh, I'm so sorry. Is it okay if I just buy the beer for these guys? I won't drink it. I'll just give them the beer. The bartender says, all right, fine, gives them a beer. They're all three state agents. The law isn't she can't drink beer. The law is she can't purchase beer. They're fine. Where was the victim in this case? Yeah, thank you. There was none. These were three state agents. This was not people. This was a setup. This kind of thing happens every single time, all day long, all the time. They got to get money out of this. This is the state liquor authority. Well, the state itself says, well, we want to get a piece of our action, so they now create rules for COVID. Do the same thing. So you can't drink, right, alcohol unless it's takeout. They come up with that rule. Then they walk in, state agent. with the mask on, says, thank you for the beer, taps on the beer. Can I get a straw? The bartender turns to get the straw. He pulls up his mask, sips a drink while she's getting the straw. Other state agent takes the picture, $5,000 fine. These are state agents. It isn't like these are people who are these are state agents. This is entrapment. Now go fight it. Go fight it now. When you're at most 50% capacity, struggling to survive, go fight the state now. You can't.
There's no warning. The first warning is
no
a
warning.
$10,000 fine.
Yes, that's correct. $5,000 or more. Correct. Now the county's got upset. The county said, you're sitting here robbing my people. You can't rob my people. I rob my people. So they decided that they want to get cut of the deal. So the county comes up with its own rules and regulations. Again, I'm not making this up, guys. Ask any owner of restaurants. This is actually happening. The county makes up their own rules for safety. But in reality, when a state agent comes in, all the money they're stealing and robbing from the restaurant actually goes to the state. The county doesn't get any of that. So the county says, I want my cut. So the county creates its own rules so it can send its own agents in so it can get its cut of the money. So now you're a restaurant owner or a bar owner. 3 different rules and regulations. You can't cover all 3. You're going to get hammered by one of them. So your only option is, who's going to rob me? You're going to get robbed by the state. That's going to happen. The question is, which one do you want to pay? Well, I want to pay the county instead, so I'll follow state and SLA regulations, and the county will hammer me for $5 grand. Or I can follow the county and SLA, and the state will hammer me for $10 grand. That's where we are right now. Thank you for bringing that up. You got me on a roll. But I hear this every single time I travel. I've heard a story like this or this exact story just in these last 5 weeks I've been traveling the state. And I thought maybe it was exaggerated. But when 4, 5, or 6 different facilities tell you exactly the same story with a minor twist, it's true. And it's exactly what the state will do. This is where we are right now. And I would ask you, where are the Democrats, Republicans to stop this? Where's the establishment to stop this? The establishment is actually helping it. Only the rebels are trying to stop this. We are the rebels. Only the rebels are trying to stop this. We are the rebels. If you care, you have to vote gold this year. And I have so many good candidates that are doing that. And let me give you one if I can right now. Another person who talks all about economics and making things right. And she is someone who literally moved from the city to become a farmer. I don't know why, but this goes back to what Thomas was talking about finding happiness wherever you can find it. I love it. So awesome. She's actually here running for Congress, Victoria Alexander.
Hello, Broome County. This is my 11th stop with Larry. This is my final stop. I've been to all 11 counties in District 19. In Broome County, I have a very tiny sliver called Sanford because our districts are configured so strangely. And I overlap with Promiscuity in a couple of areas in Hancock and Deposit and Sanford. And I was out in Hancock and Deposit earlier today canvassing for both of us. Thomas and I started to interact early on in the pandemic when the lockdown started. And we started a Zoom group and a video cast called Anti-Lockdown. Because we could see immediately the negative unintended consequences of the lockdown, like all people could see what sort of problems and what sort of harm that would cause. Now, after a few weeks, we decided to change that name because we all expected the lockdown to disappear, and we changed the name to Reborn and Reimagined New York. We wanted to stay super positive, and we regretted using the word anti in our name because that's negative. And we talked about this a lot. We want everyone to understand that libertarians are a very, very positive party. I know that a lot of our slogans sound negative. Taxation is theft, don't tread on me, I own myself, just leave me alone and let me do what I want. But some libertarians especially Tom, are more interested in ideas like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And the government, the few people in the government, some of them who are good, may have the best intentions for locking down society, the entire world. Half the global population was under house arrest. That's never happened before in human history, and it's staggering. And I hope that when historians look back at this time, they'll think how bizarre it was, because it never happened again. Now, what we did in those few weeks that we talked about this during the lockdown is we talked about different ways that the government could make sure that no one was prevented from protecting themselves, right? Remove all the obstacles, cause no harm. Don't force people to take your suggestion or your formula for this, because it might not work for everyone and it might have some unintended consequences. This past weekend, now a lot of the things that we talked about, for instance, lockdowns don't help the most vulnerable people in the population, and that's the elderly. Separate the elderly and the at-risk population from other people. 2 different health facilities for infectious patients and non-infected patients. What we did actually caused great harm for the economically disadvantaged. The people who were working in the service industry had to go out and work as cashiers and bus drivers, even if they were at risk. While the wealthier people and people who worked for the government, I worked for the State Department at the time, got full pay and got to stay home or work via Zoom. The economic injustice of that is staggering. There was a group about a week ago in Great Barrington that got together, epidemiologists from Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford, and they put together a plan, a proposal for how to protect everyone and harm no one. Now, their proposal was very similar to what we came up with in our little group, because it's common sense. The Libertarian Party cares about you. The Libertarian Party is not going to force you to do something that's going to harm you. The Libertarian Party is not going to ask you to make sacrifices that the government itself is unwilling to make. The Libertarian Party is not going to ask you to harm your neighbor or ask your neighbor to sacrifice something for you. My name is Victoria Alexander. I'm running for Congress in District 19. Please look up my website, alexanderforcongress.com. That's with the number 4. And don't forget to look up Thomas's website. I don't know whether you mentioned that, Tom 452 with 4 spelled out. F-O-R. Thank you, everyone.
See, I got all riled up. I'm gonna blame you for that. And I didn't do an ask like I should have. Thank you. Yes, I got all riled up. My mistake. I got emotional. Didn't do my job, and I didn't do a good ask, and I should have. Absolutely. Tom 452 F452. Please head on over there. Click that donate button. Support him if you can. If you don't have the cash to support him and you live in this area, it's okay. He needs you to go out there and wave those signs and hang those door hangers and everything else, and click that like and share his stuff. He needs it absolutely. But so does Victoria Alexander, absolutely. I thought it's directdemocracyus.org. Did I?
It is well.
Okay, I like directdemocracyus.org. That sounds cooler. Go to that one. Still her. If you can donate, please do so. I help her out too. And of course, let's not forget Mr. Vasquez. What is your website?
Vasquez for Broome.
Vasquez4Broome.com. Help them out if you can. We'd love to have all these guys do well and do better in this election year. It's an important year because everything that you just said, Victoria, thank you for what you said. You bring up a very important piece. I just sat and got all riled up before you came up and talked about how the government was hammering. What's the response I'm sure I'm going to get? Well, if the government doesn't hammer people, then people are going to die. No one's going to do the right thing. Well, there's another option. Instead of deciding, here are the rules and regulations, and I will send out my agents to punish you and to trap you, could have instead said, here is what the government believes is the right answer for a retail store. Here's what we believe is true. If you follow that, our inspectors will come around, and if you do it right, we'll give you a government stamp. If you don't, we'll walk away. That's it. We're not going to punish you. We're not going to shut you down. Instead of sending 3 people for a sting, 1 person each covering all the retail outlets. But you don't just have it, not just that, you also allow for maybe a medical association, maybe a holistic association, each of them to put down their rules and their guidelines, what they think is right. And they go around and give stamps, what they think is correct. But I don't have to, in any way, shape, or form, shut down any business whatsoever as a government. Because you, as a consumer, will decide which ones you trust and which ones you don't. And the ones you don't trust will have to change, or they'll shut down on their own because you won't go there. Community standards will be set, people will be safer, and more important, we will have data from different counties to know what's actually real and what's not. It won't be, well, masks work, well, they don't work, well, they kind of work, well, lockdowns work, but they kind of work, but they don't work. That won't happen. We would actually know as each county picked its own answers. The example I bring up often is in Yates County about a month ago. Yates County, New York State has about 30,000 people in, give or take. Been a total of 6 deaths, all out of 1 COVID death, all out of 1 nursing home. Yet they're supposed to have the same rules as Manhattan. How does that make any sense? How does it make any sense? Queens County has 2.1 million people compared to Yates with 30,000. Why should they have the same rules and regulations and goals? Why is it even possible? Shouldn't exist. It's important that we look and allow people and change the environment so people can do what they think is best. This is the best part. If we actually had that type of system, people would help each other. They would. And if you remember before they had the lockdown, people were helping each other. We were deciding what was right. We were keeping our elderly away and dropping off. Remember all the things you saw on Facebook? I'm going by my grandpa's house. I'm dropping stuff off because I don't want him to go to the store. That was happening. These acts of kindness were already happening. If we have the right environment, community can step up where government will fail. Government is never going to be kind. It will simply check a box and give the service that's required by the law. That's what they will do. But individual people will be kind. When you have a problem or issue or concern, the first thing you need, whether it's mental, physical, financial, whatever your issue is, the first thing you need is not a program. The first thing you need is somebody who cares. And when that person you find who cares, they will then give you to the right program or idea or concept, whatever you need. Think about this. How many times does a government program refer you to a nonprofit? Very rare. Will a nonprofit refer you to a government program? Yeah, if it's right for you. Because a nonprofit person cares. I want people to care. You should set up the environment to care. It will change our society. I do want us to be kind. I want us to do that. And speaking of kindness, I'm going to bring up somebody right now who is running for Congress. And one of his biggest issues, believe it or not, is random acts of kindness. Well, I'll change that. Hold on. Acts of random kindness. Acts of random kindness is what he talks about all the time. And I know this man personally, and he is kind. He's a caretaker. He's a caring person with a lot of passion for making things right. He's running for Congress here in New York State. Keith Price.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Broome. Before I get into my primary message today, I'm going to take a moment to the streamers, media, and Larry's vast audience. I want to speak to government. And I want to speak to government at all levels. County, local, state, and federal government. Our country is hurting because of the policies you put in place. We are financially struggling. And while you debate and discuss a $1,200 check that may never come, there is something you can do today, right now, at all levels that will help Americans immediately. And that is pass an immediate payroll and income tax holiday for the immediate foreseeable future. Put money that you should never be touching back in the paychecks of everyday Americans And then when they go from their crumbs that you gave them to the whole slice, let's make those tax holidays permanent. And that will get our economy back on track.
Yeah.
Now for my primary message. Because I know they're watching. They're afraid of Larry. They're afraid of Victoria and Tom and Michael. Then I'll tell you why they're afraid. They're afraid because they have a voice. And why do they have a voice? Because they've decided to step up in their. And some of us have stepped up alone. And some of us have stepped up with great assistance. And when you step up, what you do is you begin to build an ark. An ark, act of random kindness. You see, we're told stories about arks out of the Bible and other places. And we know that they are sort of what they are in those scenarios. But the ark I'm talking about, the ark you're all invited on, because it's not my ark or his ark or her ark, it's our ark. The ark we're talking about and the ark we're building will build stronger, better communities. And when we have stronger, better communities, there will be very little room for government. The ark consists of a single act on a day. That's your first board. And then you bring a board and you bring a board and I bring a board and we build our ship. And every time we do an act of random kindness, our ship gets a little stronger, gets a little better, and it can weather the next storm. Whether the next storm is another wave of COVID or some federal government overreach. We can build a better community by acts of random kindness. We can get on the ark. Now, I've said this once before, and I will say it again. Some people seem to agree with it. Some people don't. There is room on our ark for everybody.
Yes.
Democrats, Republicans, even Emperor Cuomo has a place on my ark right next to the outhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's got to sit by that door. But in order to have the ark, we need another concept of mind. We need rights with no rules. Now, I'm not talking about no laws. Laws are laws and rules are rules. I'm not talking about anarchy in the streets. I'm talking about we have constitutional rights. We have amendment-given rights. We have creator-given rights that each and every day some level of government tries to chip away at for its own benefit. What we need is Captain America's shield. Because when we get that shield, we can protect our rights. And when we protect our rights by voting in Mike and voting in Gold and voting in non-conformists, when we protect our rights, we ensure the founding fathers' vision of a free and safe and sound America, the country each and every one of us wants to live in. So join me, build the ark with me so that can lift and sail in the times of great storms. And while we're on that ark, help me become a superhero. Help me help you defend our constitutional rights. The best single analogy I can use is we are all brick walls. We are all brick walls. And each and every day, society, federal government, life as a whole tries to chip at your wall. And if we let entities like government take a brick out of that wall, our foundations will weaken and we will crumble. But I say no more. Stop touching our walls. But more importantly, give us back what is ours. It was never yours in the first place. You should have never been allowed access to it. The group of individuals in this room may or may not support this singular statement, but hear me, hear me, hear me. You've done enough. It is too late to apologize. Your time is up. Our time is now. And we will make those changes. Win or lose, I will still work with Larry and Victoria and Tom and Mike, and we will have a better New York, and we will have a better United States. And the simple reason for that is because I will not quit holding you accountable. If you will not hold your feet to the flames, I will make you walk across the fire. We will not be ignored. We will not be set aside. You will hear me debate my opponents. They will address their concerns. This state will be held accountable, not because I'm at a podium saying so, but because there's millions of New Yorkers that have had enough. Listen to me. We know you're watching because you're afraid of these folks. We've had enough and we're coming for you. And we're not going to do it violently. And we're not going to do it in the streets with rioting. We're going to do it by electing third-party candidates. We're going to do it by holding events like this. We're going to do it by having a voice so loud, you cannot ignore us. You will not ignore us. I am Keith Price. I am running for Congress in the 22nd Congressional District. I can be found on Facebook, keithprice.com or facebook.com, or Keith Price for US 22nd. I'd appreciate all of your votes. But if you don't vote for me, don't vote for the lesser of two evils. When you empower evil, you are still putting evil in office. Vote gold. Let's go, America. Thank you very much.
Oh, I cannot tell you how lucky we are to have guys like this who are up here doing what so many of us would love to do, but they don't have the time, the resources, the energy, but these people do. I'm so proud of them all. I want to make sure you understand one important thing. Some of you are probably thinking, Larry, these are great people, but I gotta vote for my establishment guy. I know him or her. I voted for him or her for the past 10, 20 years. This is the same guy who's been in my, in my region all this time. I gotta vote for that person. You can if you want to, I get it. But then why would you complain about how bad things are? If you keep voting the same way, you keep getting the same thing. Well, the other thing, Larry, I'd love to vote for these people, but they can't win. They can't win. If you just want to vote for a winner, you don't care if that winner steps on your face. Well, the guy stepping on me is the guy I voted for, so it's fine. Is that how we're thinking now? How about instead vote for the person who you think is the right person? How about that? And in some cases, it's going to be somebody gold because there's a lot of gold out there, but there isn't gold everywhere. In some cases, you're not going to be able to find a libertarian candidate. I got it. But even in those cases, don't vote straight red. Don't vote straight blue. If you do that, you get the same thing. Vote for the right person on your ballot. If they can't win, I got it. But if you make impact and people see how viable they are, that scares the rest. You want better Democrats, you want better Republicans, vote Libertarian. You want better Libertarians, vote Libertarian. You want some Democrats and Republicans to become Libertarians, vote Libertarian. You want Democrats and Republicans to be scared, vote Libertarian. You want the same old thing? Vote the same old way. Everything else, you've got to vote gold and vote gold this year. The last piece I'll end on here is remember something. No matter who wins this election, no matter who wins it, at the end of this month, November, so end of November, there's going to be a whole bunch of unhappy Americans. Tens of millions of them. Tens of millions of them. Where are they going to go? Keith said he doesn't want them going in the streets. Neither do I. I don't want them in the streets. Neither does Keith. No one in this room wants that. You know where I want them to go? Right here.
Aboard the ark.
Come aboard the ark. I love the ark. Come aboard that because on our ark, you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force yourself on others. If you like living in Brooklyn, please live in Brooklyn. If you like living in Yates, please live in Yates. If you like living in Broome, please live in Broome. But just let everybody in those counties be themselves. Let counties be counties and communities be communities. We can all be happy. Everyone lives happy on the ark. At least they're moving towards it. Come aboard our ark. Thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate you so much. Vote, go, be bold. See you guys.